Close enough.
Okay. Okay, so it's one. Okay, so the purpose of this data conversation is really to talk about your data and its implications for your instructional plan moving forward. Okay, so you filled out the reflection doc, and I want you to just start talking me through it. I might stop you if I have a clarifying question or not. Okay.
So the middle of the year mean was 176.1. I did not find the end of the year mean just because our goal is to get attainment. So our goal is 192 for math attainment. So the points vary for each student based on we want 192. Their highest strand was, am I on the right one? No, I'm on a different one.
I mean, I have a math. What were you looking at?
I was looking at it last year's.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the beginning of the year was 162.2. The middle of the year was 176.1. So they did grow by 14 points for the mean.
So what should they have been starting out at the beginning of the year? So were they below?
They were below. They
How
should
much?
have by like 10 points.
Oh, wow.
They should have been at a 172, I believe, 173. They should have been. Right now, they need to be at a 186. The end of the year, they need to be at a 192.
Okay. So for the middle of the year, they should have been at a 186?
Yes.
So they're still trending about 10 points behind.
Below. Yes, correct.
Okay. And so the end of the year goal would be 192.
Correct.
All right. So let's talk.
So none dropped, none stayed the same in math. I have 6 who grew but did not hit winter goal. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 who met or exceeded their winter goal, and 4 who already met or exceeded their spring goal.
Okay. So the 18 that grew but did not hit their winter goal.
That was 6 of them, yeah.
6 of them. Are these kids also in your red group for reading?
Aliaris is. She is ESL, so she's learning English. Jiraiya, because she was sick in September, she never ended up taking it in the fall. So I just put her in that group just because I didn't have a fall score for her.
So technically, we don't really know.
What she did, but she did get a 180, I believe, which is like just below middle of the year. So she's in between beginning and middle of the year second. Logan Ortiz is red group. He's still learning CVC words. Chase, he's in my orange group, so he's still reading beginning of first grade level. Janaya, that one I was disappointed on. She did not grow as much as she should have because she is higher in both my groups.
So yeah, she would be above average.
Yes.
So she didn't grow.
She didn't grow as much. She only grew a few points.
Okay.
So I think she grew like 6 or 7, which like in reality is good, but not for what her score was, because her score was already high.
What was her goal?
Her goal was in I believe the 190s.
Okay. All right. So
and then Christina is about average for where.
So I guess the question for all of these students is, reflecting on your instruction, do you think your instruction in the prior quarters was effective based on your results? Why or why not?
I do, because all my students did grow, especially like a good chunk met or exceeded their winter and spring goal. So I feel like my method was working for some of them. I do have to go back and change my way for the lower level students and really like look at the learning continuum and identify more clear expectations for them versus the other kids, because I kind of loop them in with the other kids, but I should like break it down even farther for them.
Why did you loop them in? What made you?
I was hoping that I could like push them a little bit higher, but they just weren't ready for that. Like I tried, because Logan Ortiz is higher in math than reading, so I tried to like push him higher in math, and he just wasn't ready for that. So I'm gonna bring it back down.
So what did you learn?
I learned to go to the learning continuum, do it at their level, and don't push them
but I mean,
when they're
you're
not
thinking
ready.
about like the zone of proximal development.
Yeah.
So those continuum statements are what they're ready to learn.
Yes.
So
I
by
tried
you pushing them up, it was frustrational level.
Yes.
So that was good learning. So really, like, I'm just reminding them, like, if you just go to the continuum
and use that,
because that's going to tell you exactly what they're ready for.
Yes.
Okay,
so that was for my lower one.
Good.
So that was my mistake
on that
they're
going to do much better.
Yeah, so they're going to do, now I geared it more towards them. So overall, I have my push students are my high 180s and a 178 because I feel like those kids can be pushed to get to the 192 attainment.
But what are you going to have to do? These kids that are in your push group, what do you how did you select them?
I selected them based on their work ethic and on their middle of the year score, and based on like what they need to know looking at the learning continuum.
Now, I noticed that one of your push students is her overall score is a lot lower than everyone else's.
Samari, yes. I put Samari because she has been working extremely hard. She grew 18 points. I really feel like keeping her and pushing her to do more work, like she's just continuing to grow more and more.
But then you think, but if she exceeds her goal, so thinking about what you need students to be able to do. So if you are 10 points behind or meeting your overall goal because of your students below average attainment, is it feasible that you think Samari that's coming in at like a 178, that's like almost would that be a year?
She's right now at, she's at like, a half a year. She's at like beginning of second right now.
Okay, so beginning of second. Do you believe that, what do you have instructionally in place for her to make sure that she does exceed that?
So she gets the whole group lesson, and then Miss Scarelli pulls a group during the problem set. Samari's always with Miss Scarelli getting the extra support for the problem set. She gets extra support with me if she's working on her own during the problem set or on the carpet, and then I pull her, and Miss Scarelli pulls her every day.
Is she kind of even across all the strands?
Yeah. She's lower. And right now we're doing place value, MBT. She's lower in that. Other than that, she's higher in everything else. This is the only strand that she's struggling with.
If she's lower in the place value strand, what could you do? Do you think that if you were able to support her, like how much lower is she in the place? Like is it significantly lower than everyone? It's like a relative.
No, it's relatively than the other ones. Like she's not like the other one. She's higher in, but this one is just like she's struggling a little bit more.
So are you pushing anything in for place value for her somewhere else?
And we do it every day in whole group.
But is it targeted for her?
No, it's not. Like I call on her more, and I like gear questions more towards her during whole group, but it's not like it's the whole group lesson.
I would suggest that maybe going into the continuum to see exactly what Samari needs, and maybe pushing that out into IXL.
Okay.
Would be a good place for you to start, because if you're doing whole group place value, I'm not saying that she needs another just a small group for Samari, because that probably is not feasible. But you could put it in the IXL.
And then she could do that.
Yeah, so notate that.
I will.
Okay. Any negative? You didn't have any negative outliers, so that's amazing. Everybody grew in some way.
Yes.
I guess the biggest concern is the rate of growth.
Yes.
And so that's what we talked about, and you were telling me you had a way that you thought that you could double bump.
Yes, that's more for reading, but I can do it for math too.
So it's feasible that you could be able to do it for math too?
I could split it up a math so my goal is listening and learning. I'm ahead in the strands like every day, and I feel like small groups would benefit my kids more than the whole group listening and learning. Like this group right here, these are the ones who are still like, these are grade level, these are approaching grade level. So if I could meet with this group more, like pull them during the listening and learning strand instead of doing listening and learning, they would get more individualized learning continuum, small group attention. I'm not saying cut out listening and learning, but instead of doing it 4 days a week, cut it down to like 2 or 3 days a week. So then I do extra small groups instead.
I get that, because you said you're ahead in listening and learning.
Yes, I am.
How far? But you need to give me a plan for how far ahead. You don't but I would need, before I approve that, just let me know how far you are ahead, and then that can determine how many days you cut it a week.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And there's still a big place for listening and learning, because like your above level kids, the listening and learning piece is above level.
Yes.
So,
and that's why I don't want to cut it out completely, but if I cut it out by like 2 days, so I do more small group, and then I still do listening and learning, because like they still love it, it's still interesting for them, but I am ahead, so I could like cut out a day or two.
So I would need you to show me the plan for how you would do that.
Okay, I will.
And
set
then
it all
the
up.
other thing is, if you decrease listening and learning by a day, what would the other groups be doing?
So these would be on iRead. These would be either all of them would be, these would be on iRead or iExcel, and then these would be on iExcel.
So how would you? So
I would also pull. I can pull this group, so I wouldn't just pull this group. I would pull these two groups.
Okay, so I'm gonna push, and I want you to
Yes.
think about what you're gonna do for these during that time, because I don't know if iExcel will be enough, because iExcel is just skill based.
Yes.
So you would need to look at what's happening in them in the continuum. Like, so if you look at, I'm gonna pull up your data for reading. Those kids that are in that group, which strand are they having difficulty in? If they're gonna meet, if whatever you're doing in small group really gonna meet their needs, you need to be just as strategic.
Okay.
Because you're talking about time that they're not going to be away from, they're not going to be with you.
Yes.
So you need to make sure whatever they're doing is really meaningful.
Okay.
And we know about kids like this, they need to be reading more and writing more.
Okay.
So maybe iExcel is not really what they should be doing.
They should be doing something else. Okay.
So what's the highest level reader you have in that group?
Alexandra is a 200.
200. What grade is
Beginning of 4th grade.
Beginning of 4th grade.
It's beginning of 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd.
So I would almost say that within that group, I would say the students, and then look at their data to see if their data aligns with what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But the students that you have that are they're not really above average, they're at grade level.
Yes.
The second grade ones, there may be, depending on their continuum, things in iExcel that's going to help them.
Got it.
But for your students that are like 4th and 3rd grade now, you should look into maybe lit circles, like mini lit circles. A good person for that would be Raven, Dr. Daniels. Who else would be good? Miss Stevenson. They might be ready for more higher order thinking.
Okay.
And that might come up, but we would need to look at their strands to know
see
for sure.
and identify.
So to really move these groups, you're going to have to be so methodical about knowing what they need.
Yes.
Really, that's going to be the key, because I would say even within these groups, you probably have 2 other groups.
Yes. Because I could even split it up into like these 4 and these 3. I'm not saying like those actual people, but like split it up even more and be like, these 3 need this, these 4 need this.
And it's feasible for you to do if you like, but it takes like a whole another level of planning, but I think that you can do that.
Yeah. That's what, because I was just like trying to think of like how to get these kids to grade level, and I feel like more individualized attention.
I would agree too, but you don't. But my only push would be just like, okay, if you're gonna do that, what you're doing with them is gonna matter the most.
Yes.
So make sure you're really looking at what they need. Okay, so phonemes are probably down here. These kids probably still need phonemes.
Correct.
These kids might need more work with digraphs. I'm not sure, not digraphs, diphthongs, whatever it is. They might, target exactly what's the holdup, what's happening with these kids that are approaching grade level when they're reading.
Okay.
What exactly is high? Is it a phonics issue or is it a comprehension issue?
A lot of these are comprehension.
Okay, so then that's absolutely what you need to focus on. She's the only one
that would be more phonics, but the rest are comprehension.
So that's exactly what you need to focus on.
Okay,
that's good. And then the double bump, Scarelli. So we have those word sheets haven't come in yet?
No.
So what have you been having Miss Scarelli do?
She does sound boxes with them,
Good.
and then she does like all of her stuff is right there. She has some guided reading books. She has some CVC. She does sight words. So like with the red group, she does CVC words and sight words and sound boxes. With an orange group, I set up like a guided reading book with her. So like I put all the sticky notes in. I explain the book, and so like she'll like have them read it, and they'll do like a guided reading with them.
Remember, accountability is going to be key. So how do they know you are going back and looking at what they're doing with Miss Corelli?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good
that's a good question.
Think about it. So make sure you try to address that.
Okay.
Because that's going to also influence how they perform, because they know you're the teacher. So how are you going back and checking what they did with Miss Corelli, and just like letting them know a little bit, oh, hey, I saw this really good job doing this stuff, but you just have to think about how to
acknowledge so then they know. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I see your groups over here.
Yes.
Craft, structure, key idea. You have Alexandria as a 211, 220?
Yeah. She's really high.
Key ideas and detail. She should have a whole nother. Did she just come to this?
She came in September, October. She came late in the school year.
So that's October. What I mean with like a plan within that plan. IXL is not going to give her what she needs. Because IXL for reading is very skill based. So my suggestion is some of the guided reading packs downstairs already have questions in them. If she's a 211, 220, she may be able to, that sounds like that's pretty high. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would go and look for her. I would let her pick out a book that she wants to read. Of course, it needs to be developmentally appropriate. But that's what she needs, an opportunity.
Like down in the guided reading, library, have her pick. Okay.
And then just talk to her about, Alexandria, tell me a little bit about what you read. Help her, like, guide her towards something that you've read already so you can have a good conversation with her about it. And then look at what she's supposed to know in the continuum in that area. And that's it. So make sure also that your assessment is good so you'll know what's happening in your group. So I see one of the questions you said, how may I help you target? So figuring out a way to double up my students.
And that's what we were working on with Scarelli. We're working on now, like trying to figure out other groups. So.
And I see on here you put IXL Common Core Sheet. So what are you going to use? What does that mean?
I use. Like I already taught them area, so now that I use the Common Core worksheets, and then this is their work packet that they do individually, all things like we already went over time. So they practice time. We're gonna introduce fractions, so then they're gonna do fractions. So they do a work packet.
So how do you make that meaningful so it's just not busy work?
I teach it to them here before they get it otherwise. So it's like they're practicing the skill that they already learned with me or Miss Scarelli. So Miss Scarelli is practicing money with them. Soon in their math packets, money is going to be thrown in there.
Who goes back and checks it?
I check them. Right. So they turn them into the classwork bin, and then I check them.
And so they know that you check it, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so that's really important. Yeah. That they know you're getting feedback on it.
Oh, yes. They know I check it.
Okay, so like for reading, is there any? I think we kind of talked about reading.
Yeah, so reading, Ali Aris is the only one who dropped. We've talked about her just because she's still learning English. Tyrese and Anaya both stayed the same. Tyrese, Miss Lance is working on getting him tested to see because he has a really big comprehension deficit. Like he can decode books perfectly, but the comprehension's not there. So Miss Lance is going to try to figure out if it's like she's getting him tested because he already has a 504.
So he can decode, but his comprehension.
Correct.
And have you looked at he came from another school, right?
No, he had Heiselman and D.
So what did Heiselman and D say?
They said the same thing. They
so
said
this has
he
been
can
an
decode
issue
for 3 years.
Okay,
now.
So yeah, he definitely.
Yes. So yeah, I went to Heiselman, I went to D. They're like, yep, same thing. So he already had a 504. So because it was for speech, and the speech pathologist said the same thing. She was like, comprehension is below, so Miss Lance is. Okay. Getting him tested, and then Anaya.
Now the only question I would have is just. So there are strategies that you can use to help kids with comprehension. And I think that whatever books that you're having, if you have, so if you're using Raz Kids like I saw on here, if you have him answer the questions of the little pocket, sometimes along the way they have some questions in between, that might help him. Or maybe he still needs a book with you could even drop down. Okay, so you know this.
Yes.
Even if they are decoding at a higher level,
you drop down for comprehension. Yep.
So my suggestion would be to look for a book for him that's within his zone at his comprehension level.
Okay.
So even if he's decoding, you need to work with him on whatever he needs, not at his decoding level, but at his actual comprehension level. And that's how you're going to move him up. Because what is his level?
His level is a C or D.
And that's because of the comprehension,
correct.
Right? So I would work with him at that C or D level on whatever it is that he needs to understand. So if he's the instructional C or D?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. So then you use that book to work on the comprehension skills for him.
He's an interesting one. Where is Tyrese? He's a D.
So you would be spending a lot of time with him just talking about the things from the continuum that he needs to know at that level.
Yeah, he's a D. He is instructional D.
Yeah. He's very behind us. Yeah, we need to hurry up and catch him up and see what's going on with him.
Yes.
Anybody else? Amadre, he doesn't really, again, he's out of school today.
Yes, he is out of school today. He doesn't, he is on the attendance tracker, but he misses, very random days. It's not, consistent. He'll, miss a day here, miss a day here. And I know he has a lot of siblings here in school, too.
But that's still negatively impacting him.
It is.
So just to let you know, I talked to the attendance team today specifically about him because I think he definitely needs to be in school more consistently, even if it's just a random day
here. Yeah.
Now, the most important thing, we talk a lot about points and things. The most important thing is all of this is what are you going to change instructionally based on the data that you got. So it's not, we talked a lot about with the kids, but you got to drill down into what were you doing, and it was obviously successful. It got you up growth. But what can you do to get more targeted growth at a higher rate? We know we're going to double bump them.
Yes.
But what you double bump them with is going to be really important.
So what I'm going to double bump them with is through the learning continuum. I'm picking skills based on the learning continuum. And I work on a skill like this week, we're working on characterization. I do it for 2 weeks. So we do last week we did characterization, this week we're doing characterization, and then we'll do another 2-week strand so they get enough because there's a lot in characterization than just one lesson.
Since it's a continuum and everybody's at different places, how do you make sure that everybody's getting specifically what they need?
I look at each person, if this says they need that certain characterization, I put them in the group.
All right, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. You're doing a great job. That's awesome. You need to make sure you're doing exactly what that individual group needs per the continuum.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll just be shooting. If you try to do kind of reach some sort of midline everybody.
If they need it, then I put them in the group.
Right, because I think that's going to be the difference between whoever we started talking about, and you were saying that you were kind of floating them up, and then when you give them exactly what they need, then you're gonna, and then after you do the data, if you're doing your exit tickets, you're doing your weekly assessments. If they're progressing, fluctuate your group.
Okay. Yeah, I change every few weeks. We change groups.
Based on how they're doing, and you just automatically change?
I change them based on strand right now.
All right, but within those strands.
Change them based on week to week if they're growing or.
All right, or if they're young children, so if you want to do bi-weekly assessments.
Okay.
But that strand may need to change if they're doing better.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying just because you want.
I see what you're saying.
If the teaching, if the instruction is effective, those kids should be acquiring knowledge. So
I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. You have a good plan. Those things. So give me your plan for the listening and learning.
Yes.
And on it, just let me know how far in advance you are, and then map out how you stay on pace, even if you drop a day.
Okay.
All right.
Will do. I will make that plan.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the dates when everybody's plan, because basically you essentially did your plan when you did this. But then when we go to visit. Okay. And that is it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.